Hello everyone, welcome back to another video on my channel, and today we're talking about Sarper and Shekinah. If it seems like I'm a little bit less enthusiastic than I normally am, then you'd be right, because what we just saw last episode on 90 Day Fiance might be incredibly troubling. I'm still gonna summarize the episode as I usually do, and to provide context for what happens later in the episode, but I'm gonna cut right to the chaser and just give the little spoiler warning that at the end of this episode, Shekinah is seen leaving Sarper to go back to America, and the reason she gave was due to a really bad fight they had off camera. A fight that seemed to have included some kind of physical interaction between the two of them, and may have even gotten a little violent. So just keep that in mind as a trigger warning, and of course, if Sarper and Shekinah generally trigger you because of how abusive their situation feels, then let that be the warning, and now let's get into the episode. The episode starts off chronicling the events of Shekinah's birthday, which just so happens to also be Sarper's birthday just 2 years apart.
Today is my birthday, and it also happens to be Sarper's birthday.
The two of them make a really big deal out of this on the show, that the two of them share a birthday, that not only is this the first time they're able to celebrate this day together in person, but also that they even have this similar birthday must be a sign that the two of them are destined for each other.
Same exact birthday.
I know.
We are the chosen
So
one,
crazy.
babe. We are the chosen one.
The show then humorously cuts to a one-on-one where they talk about this birthday situation, where it's revealed that Sarper was actually born on the 21st and Shekinah on the 20th.
Shekinah, you were born on the 20th. Yeah. And you have the same birthday. How? Yeah.
And when confronted about it, it seems like the two of them get a little timid and confused.
I mean, there's a big point.
Difference.
The time difference.
Until Sarper clarifies that due to the time difference that they were actually born at very similar times, just 2 years apart.
We just born in the same moment.
2 years apart, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty amazing.
And while at first that seems like a side point and just kind of an interesting thing to note, the fact that today is both of their shared birthdays actually does become relevant to the story later. But before the fight that ultimately causes Shekinah to leave, the two of them go out to a nice dinner with Sarper's family to celebrate their birthday together. The family says hi, and immediately Sarper again goes on to explain how amazing it is that the two of them have the same birthday,
How many couples in the world have the same birthday, right?
and that she must be the chosen one.
She's the chosen one.
The conversation then moves to them discussing Shekinah possibly moving to Turkey, or if she's just visiting, then how long is she going to be here?
You're going to visit your daughter, obviously.
Well, I
but
have to,
You're
yeah.
going to visit for a short time, and you'll come back.
I kind of forgot that although Shekinah is here in Turkey, and this is 90 Day Fiance The Other Way, their actual plan is to have Sarper start the K1 visa process to possibly go over to America. And in the meantime, Shekinah is going to be in Turkey for 5 weeks at a time, and then go back to America for her daughter, and then go back to Turkey for another 5 weeks. It seemed like that was the plan. Anyway, the family is all expecting Shekinah to move in with Sarper here in Turkey, until Sarper has to begrudgingly tell the family that they actually started a K1 visa process for him to go to America.
Shekinah ile beraber K1 vizesine başvurduk.
Sarper's family at this point had no idea that a K1 visa process was at all in the cards for Sarper. But Sarper decided to tell his family the truth about his plans to move internationally, because he thought that withholding information from his family feels like a betrayal to them.
I just felt that I have to say to my family. And it is kind of a betrayal to hide from them.
And yes, in case my tone wasn't obvious enough, I'm looking at you, James and Meitalia. The family is understandably a little hurt to hear this news, because they obviously don't want Sarper to leave and go to America.
Bilmiyorum. Benim bir tek oğlum var. Zaten bir torunumuz yok. Bilmiyorum, ben istemiyorum.
The mother then makes this comment that she would have preferred if Sarper found a nice Turkish girl here so that he didn't have to move all the way to America.
Ama yoksa oğlumun tabii bir Türk kızıyla evlenip burada yaşamasını daha çok tercih ederdim.
But given what we know about Sarper and his 2,500 women track record, kind of makes you wonder how much of that does the mom know? Because you'd think if you know that your son is a serial playboy and has been with literally thousands of women and is now still single in his late 40s, I feel like you might just have to be happy that he found any relationship at all at this point. Then the family naturally asks about Shekinah's family and how supportive they are of their relationship. And this is where the first major red flag of the episode appears. Shekinah gets clearly very uncomfortable at the mention of her family. So much so that when the mother asks about what Shekinah's daughter thinks about Sarper,
Kızı ne düşünüyor yani? Senin hakkındaki düşünceleri ne?
Shekinah doesn't have an answer and ends up crying.
I don't know. I honestly don't. I'm sorry. I didn't want to.
If you don't watch the show regularly or haven't seen my previous videos on them, Shekinah goes on to remind us and explain that she and her family have a pretty strained relationship these days.
My family and I used to be a lot closer, but last year my sister Shariah came to Turkey to meet Sarper, and it didn't go well.
From what Shekinah's told us, her family does not trust Sarper at all and does not approve of this relationship. Before anyone had actually met Sarper, Shekinah's family was already very distrustful of him. Because, well, obviously, I mean, just look at him. But determined to prove that their first impressions were wrong, Shekinah brought her sister Shariah over to Turkey to meet him in person.
And it didn't go well.
Shekinah's sister Shariah, yes, these names are very confusing to get straight, both visited Sarper in Turkey last season. And while Shekinah was convinced that Sarper is this amazing, wonderful guy, the sister Shariah had a much worse impression. And it's not hard to understand why.
You're speaking too much, Shariah. You are so cute, but you're speaking too much.
It seemed to me, watching those scenes, that the reason Shariah doesn't like Sarper is because Sarper doesn't seem like a very good person. And Shariah was just the only person around to not make excuses for him like Shekinah would. Sarper's behavior there was already troubling enough, but what makes this an even bigger red flag is Shekinah's excuses now as to why Shariah didn't like him. Because instead of Shekinah showing any awareness that maybe Shariah doesn't like Sarper because of the way Sarper himself acted, Shekinah instead makes excuses and says that part of the reason why Shariah had such a bad impression was only because she went into the experiments with too negative of a mentality, effectively dismissing Shariah's opinion about Sarper and blaming her for her bad impression of him. To clarify, Shekinah is absolutely correct that Shariah was a negative Nancy the whole time and had a lot of judgments about Sarper going into it. But Sarper also clearly had some questionable actions during the visits that Shekinah doesn't seem to be acknowledging. That's not just making excuses for Sarper by saying, yeah, I know he's bad, but he's not always bad, he's also very loving and you just didn't see that part. It's not quite the same thing, because at least in the edit we saw, Shekinah doesn't want to acknowledge that Sarper did anything wrong, and instead focuses on how Shariah contributed to her bad impression. You see what I mean there? That's a different kind of excuse making, and suggests a larger form of delusion may be at play. And ever since then, Shariah, and by extension the rest of Shekinah's family, have not approved of the relationship, and this has caused a lot of static and friction between Shekinah and the rest of her family. So now, Shekinah is isolated from everyone in her family because of her relationship with Sarper.
My mom and my sisters, they're not speaking to me, and that's been really difficult.
And after that discussion about Shekinah's family, the rest of the dinner that we see at least seems to have gone on just fine and without major incident. Except, as we'll soon learn, things actually didn't end as nicely as we thought. The next scene we get with them takes place 1 hour after that birthday dinner, where we see the 90 Day Fiancé producers enter the apartment and start investigating what just happened. As the producers walk in, the first thing they do is ask Shekinah if everything is okay, and her answer to that is no. The crew walks in, and we see Sarper sitting on the couch looking very calm as they ask him what happened. And then, while it seems like Shekinah is walking around the apartment and packing, presumably to leave, Sarper tells us his side of what happened tonight. Sarper goes on to explain that the vanity that we saw them looking at in the furniture store from a few episodes ago, Shekinah wanted a vanity for when she moved into the apartment and they went and looked at it. Not really a big deal. Sarper offered to buy this vanity, this expensive vanity, and a vanity that he claims that Shekinah wanted, but when he offered to buy it for her, Shekinah didn't let him.
Was it expensive?
I didn't like it yesterday.
Sarper then tries to very calmly explain that he always does everything for her, she doesn't want the vanity, she doesn't want anything, I always do my best and she just gives me negativity.
She doesn't want it. She doesn't want anything. That negativity, I do my best.
When Shekinah interrupts and has some accusations for Sarper.
I do my best.
He just wants what he wants, and he feels like he might not get it, so he spirals.
She then goes on to say that Sarper got physical with her and ripped out one of her hair extensions, and in the process also ripped her phone out of her hand.
You ripped out my hair extension.
I didn't read my
Sarper doesn't deny that, and instead, again very calmly, which we'll talk about in a second, says that, yeah, I took her phone and yeah, one of her hair extensions came out, but I never harm her.
Yeah, I took her phone from here, and yeah, one of their extensions from here came out. I never harm her. I never touch her.
And then, in his best sad boy impression, goes, wow, on our birthday too. On my birthday and her birthday, and this is what we get.
I mean, it's my birthday. Her birthday too. Look at what we get.
Before Shekinah, while crying, begs him to move so she can get out and leave the apartment.
Please move.
Okay.
She goes on to leave and gets her stuff out the door, while Sarper, still with a very calm demeanor, kinda condescends her and says, good luck being in LA and going to all your parties.
Let me offer some shit. In your life, in your new life, in your real life, in your parties.
Whatever makes you feel better.
As Shekinah leaves, and Sarper closes the door on the cameraman. A few minutes later, now in the backseat of the producer's car, the producers ask Shekinah her side of the story and how she would describe what happened. Shekinah claims that this whole thing started back at the restaurant, when Sarper insisted that he buy her this vanity that he thinks she likes, while Shekinah is saying that she actually doesn't like the vanity and doesn't want him to spend this money on something that she doesn't like.
Why don't you just let me buy this vanity? But I said, I don't want you to spend your money on a vanity I don't even like.
But despite Shekinah saying no to the vanity, Sarper kept insisting.
And he was just insisting.
And eventually started to get quite mad at Shekinah as the two of them got in a car to go back to Sarper's place. While in the car, still mad, Sarper goes on to talk about how he's changed everything in his life for her and he's done all of these things for her. And what have you done, Shekinah? What have you done when I've given everything?
What have I done? I haven't done anything for him. He had a good life before, he had a peaceful life, he was perfectly happy, and now look at his life.
The two of them eventually get to Sarper's place, where Sarper is now even more mad and continues yelling even worse. And escalated to the point that Sarper then reached out and tried to forcefully grab Shekinah's phone from her, and somehow in this process also ripped one of Shekinah's hair extensions out.
He just kept yelling and started yelling more and more. And then he came over and grabbed my phone, ripped my hair extension out.
Shekinah, then phoneless, asks Sarper, "Where's my phone? Where'd you put it?" And in response, according to Shekinah at least, Sarper then seemed to play dumb and go, "What, phone? I don't know where your phone is."
And I said, give me my phone back. And he says, what? I don't know where your phone is. How would I know where your phone is? And I was like, you just took my phone. He was trying to make me feel like I was going crazy.
After which he eventually gave her her phone back and then started acting all lovey-dovey and, oh, it's our birthday and come here, baby. We shouldn't fight on our special day.
Come here, baby. Come here. It's our birthday. Let me hug you. I was like, don't touch me.
But Shekinah wasn't having it, said, no, don't touch me, and started packing. After Shekinah finishes telling us what happened, we then see her back at some place, maybe a hotel or maybe where the producers are staying, some kind of safe space away from Sarper, when Shekinah starts telling us how she feels right now and about the whole situation. She says she feels like this was all very surreal, like she still has a lot to process and feels kind of numb from it all.
A little bit numbed at this point, like surreal, like this isn't real.
And goes on to describe that one of the things Sarper repeated over and over was,
kept saying, you've changed, you used to listen to me, now you don't listen to me. And he was saying, I want the old Shekinah back, who used to listen to me in the beginning.
And very interestingly, in a way that really makes me respect Shekinah a lot more, even in the moments when she's very frazzled and processing everything, and hears Sarper's accusations that you've changed and you're not who you used to be, still has the clarity of mind to not just outright reject it and go, well, I haven't changed, and get really defensive, but to kind of hear the underlying message and go, well, I haven't changed as a person, but I have been putting my foot down more and speaking more with my own voice as opposed to being so blindly obedient towards him.
I don't think I've changed. I think I'm using my voice more because I'm realizing certain things are not okay. He doesn't like to be confronted or questioned.
And the episode ends with Shekinah crying in the safe space with her dog about how wild everything got and what could possibly be going on in their relationship. this would be a pretty weird thing to manufacture, but just in case this is somehow faked or the storyline is fake and something like that. Even if that was the case, it's still depicting a dynamic that does exist in the world. So although I don't know exactly how true every little thing about this is, at the end of the day, I am still grateful that the show shows these scenes so that we have an opportunity to talk about it and raise awareness of some of the red flags here. Well, honestly, not even red flags. Red flags are an indication that something might be problematic later. This is just abusive right now. Also, just want to be clear, I'm not a registered or clinical professional anything. So if you relate at all to this or you want to learn more at all from actual professionals, here is a domestic violence hotline and some links I'll put up on screen for you to check out. So now to share my thoughts on this. The first thing that came to mind with me with watching that scene with them after the fight is Sarper's attitude, specifically how calm and cool he is. Now, I don't know if he's actually calm, cool, and collected right now, because it is totally possible and not uncommon for someone to be freaking out on the inside, but the way they handle these high-stress environments is to get oddly calm and cool. So he could still be freaking out right now, but I also know that it's really not uncommon for the abuser in the situation to then be very good at putting on the people fronting mask when maybe authorities come in to check on a possible DV situation. The abuser is often able to act very calmly and rationally. Sorry about the noise, officer. I mean, yeah, we got into a minor disagreement and it wasn't a big deal. And act very calmly in a way to convince other people that, well, clearly one person is very calm and the other person is crying and very upset, like Shekinah is right now. So therefore, it can't possibly be the calm person that's the actual abuser. But that calmness that an abuser might display isn't always just for the outside world and influencing how they might judge the situation. It's also often used as a tactic to gaslight and manipulate the abused person into convincing them that I was actually the rational person and it was your emotional outburst that caused me to get abusive. I'm the one that's fine and being normal. You're the crazy one who's freaking out. It's that kind of thing. So in this situation where I see Sarper acting very calmly and not raising his voice, if he's trying to convince me that therefore he must not have done anything wrong, doesn't work on me at all. Again, I'm not saying that he did do anything. I can't make allegations like that on this channel. But also especially because although he is acting calm, he's also inserting in these somewhat passive-aggressive comments to Shekinah, calmly saying that it's this overwhelming amount of negativity from her and that he does everything for her and she's just ungrateful and doesn't do anything and have a nice life and enjoy your parties in LA, which we know from a previous episode that he doesn't let her go to these parties in LA. Parties that is part of her job as an events coordinator to go to. He doesn't let her go to these events that are part of her job because he's jealous and controlling and doesn't want her to meet guys or socialize or something. So knowing he has a problem with that and then sarcastically kind of saying it at the end, like, go enjoy your LA parties. Yeah, I doubt if he was actually calm and rational and open-minded like he's presenting himself to be that he would make those kind of comments. And of course, besides all that, to calmly admit that, yeah, I took her phone and somehow I guess she lost a hair extension. Like, what? No, there was no calm, easy, simple way to admit to getting physical with someone where they're losing hair extensions. I don't know from firsthand experience exactly how much force would be required to remove them manually like that. When I Google it and talk to my female friends, it seems like a lot of them think that it would take a lot of force versus, I don't know, maybe on the other end of the spectrum, it's been in there for weeks and weeks and maybe wasn't properly taken care of and it wouldn't take a lot of force for it to naturally fall out. All that to say, I don't know exactly how damning it is or how likely a hair extension just falling out is. But there at least is a sizable portion of that spectrum where it would require a fair bit of force, and I don't know how that would have easily happened by accident. Damning piece of evidence number 2 is, of course, kind of directly admitting to getting physical with her. Even hair extension situation aside, you're still admitting to presumably forcefully taking Shekinah's phone away from her, which Sarper says isn't getting physical with her, but absolutely is. You're forcefully invading someone else's personal space and taking their belongings against their wishes. Just because it's normal for you to take your partner's belongings and you've stolen her phone from her 20 times before in arguments doesn't mean that it's not an abuse. Then, after he admitted to not touching her, but taking her phone forcefully, we then saw Sarper play the sad boy card of, well, it's our birthday and look what happened here. And according to Shekinah and her story, after Sarper gave her phone back, when he did a similar thing going, oh, I'm so sorry about everything, like I love you so much, it's our birthday, let's spend time together.
Finally, he gave it back to me. He's like, come here, baby, come here, it's our birthday.
Well, that's just a clear as day example of the reconciliation phase of the abusive cycle, where after some kind of tumultuous incident occurs, the abuser then tries to reconcile by love bombing or being excessively nice, maybe even trying to appear really calm to get the abused person to relax and to let them back in and forgive them. The last thing that really popped out to me when watching this is this might be the best and possibly most clear example we've ever seen on the show of actual gaslighting. Not internet gaslighting where anybody who's ever misconstrued the truth or defended themselves with maybe a little bit of distortion or just lied about anything, not how that is gaslighting to the internet, but the actual gaslighting of a campaign of manipulating someone and distorting and misrepresenting the truth in an effort to get the other person to question their own sense of reality and their own sanity. And of course, this is TV, not a professional. I'm not legally defaming anyone. But if Shekinah's side is to be believed, he gets mad and takes her phone, which he also admitted to, and then Shekinah asks him for the phone back and where's my phone? And allegedly him then saying, I don't know where your phone is. Why would I know where your phone is? Maybe I don't know where your phone is. I misplaced it or threw it across the room in anger and so now I don't know. But to say, I don't know where your phone is, why would I know where your phone is? That kind of question from Sarper implies that there would be no logical or rational reason why he should know where Shekinah's phone is, which then kind of implies that he's saying that he didn't take her phone. That's the kind of gaslighting. That's the making someone else question their version and memory of reality.
How would I know where your phone is? And I was like, you just took my phone. He was trying to make me feel like I was going crazy.
That would be a good example of actual gaslighting, if it happened as Shekinah described. So that's all I have to say about this episode and this scene here. Of course, someone could talk ad nauseum about Sarper and all the things we've seen from all the scenes in the past that are also red flags of abusive behavior like this. But I've already spoken enough about this on this video, and again, I'm going to put a link here for anyone who might be dealing with a DV situation, and here are some resources, and I'll put them in the description below as well. It's currently over 100 degrees where I live right now, and I can't turn on the AC while I film because of the noise, so I am absolutely drenched right now. I'm very sweaty, but while I try to maintain some semblance of presentability, let me know what you thought about this couple in the comments down below. Obviously, only what you're comfortable sharing, or if there's any similar or shared experiences. Anything you want to share is great. A big thank you to all of you channel members for helping support this channel, with an extra special thank you to Nancy Jones for being a producer of this channel. And until next time, I'm very sweaty, and I'll see you later.